In this video, I want to teach you how to shift a dirt bike. What's up, Rad family? I'm Dakota Freeman, and welcome to the Rad Adventure Dude channel. If you haven't hit the subscribe button yet, make sure you hit that and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future dirt bike riding tips. It's going to be so important that whenever we want to get better at riding our dirt bikes, that we master how to shift a dirt bike. Shifting our dirt bikes is how we go up and down through the gears to access the different gear ratios on the bike. So if you're looking for more acceleration, you'd want to get down in a lower gear. And if you're looking for more top speed out of your dirt bike, we want to shift up into a higher gear to get the most top speed out of your bike. So let's go ahead and cover how to shift a dirt bike so you can get through all these gears on your bike. So when we are learning how to shift a dirt bike, we're going to be using three of our main controls. We're going to be using our throttle, our clutch, and our gear shifter. All these controls are going to be used in a correct order to actually go through how to shift a dirt bike the proper way. So every time that we're shifting our gears, if we have a clutch, if we don't have a clutch, that we let off the throttle when we shift our gears. This just frees up our motor and makes it easier on our dirt bike to actually shift a dirt bike. The second part is once we've let the throttle off, we pull in our clutch. Pulling in the clutch frees up the motor and makes it to where we can actually shift through our gears as easy as possible. So we're going to always make sure to let off our throttle, pull in our clutch. At this point, we're now ready to hit our gear shifter, whether we want to shift up or if we want to shift down. So to use the gear shifter, we're going to have to use our left foot, and we're going to just press with our foot down to shift down, and we can actually use our toe to pick up on the gear shifter to shift up. This is how we're going to go through our gear shift to actually shift the proper way. Whenever we're learning how to shift a dirt bike, we want to go through all these steps in the correct order. That way we don't miss a gear and accidentally put the bike in neutral. So as you're learning this, try to instill these good habits into your riding now, to where whenever you're out on the tracks and trails later, you don't have to think about it as much and you're naturally able to shift through the gears using all the controls in the correct order. So as we're out on the tracks and trails and we're learning how to shift our gears, we're actually going to feel the differences between the gears. So you're going to feel how down in the lower gears it has a lot of torque and a lot of acceleration. And then as you're riding and you're shifting up through the gears, that it has a little bit more of a mellow power range, but it still has a lot more top speed out of that gear. We're also going to want to develop hearing the RPM level of the gears so we know when to shift at the proper time. We want to make sure that as we're shifting through our gears and we're accelerating, the RPMs are actually going to get higher as we continue accelerating. Once we've already climbed through this entire gear, and right before the power in this gear plateaus out, is when we want to go through and shift our gear. So as you're in a lower gear, this may be a short amount of time where it goes from the first gear to the second gear, and you're going to have to go through your gear changes pretty quickly. Once you get into the higher gears, like third and fourth gear, you're going to see how this gear range is much longer, having a lot more time in between the gear before you run out of power and have to shift again. I know this may sound like a lot going on, especially when you're learning how to ride a dirt bike, but just stick with us here, and soon this is all going to get instilled into your riding. You're no longer going to have to think about it, and you're going to be able to know how to shift a dirt bike at the right time as easy as possible. If this video is already helping you, make sure you like this video, drop some comments down below, and ask me any other questions that you have. So when you want to really master how to shift your gears on your dirt bike, you should really practice this over and over. Practice getting in the lower gears and feeling the RPM level and feeling the torque coming out of the motor so you're more comfortable with it. If you're out on the tracks and trails, you've already been through this gear and you know how it feels. Also, get on a road where you can get a little bit more speed and climb up through the gears. This way you can actually feel what these higher gears feel like and see if you like the more mellow power coming out of them as well. Being in the correct gear is going to be so important when we're learning how to ride, especially when we're out on the tracks and trails. If you're in the wrong gear, it makes it much easier to stall your dirt bike, and you really want to avoid that, especially out on the tracks and trails. So making sure that you're always in a good medium RPM level on your gear is how we're going to make sure that we're in the right gear, and whenever you want to put the acceleration on your dirt bike, that you have plenty of acceleration and your bike doesn't just bog down. For example, if you're in too high of a gear and you're coming out of a corner and you go to put the throttle on, the RPM level is not going to be in the correct range, and you can actually just put the throttle on and hear the bike bog down. If this happens, you may be able to tap your clutch and get the RPM level back up to where it needs to be, but if not, you're going to actually have to shift down a gear to get into the proper gear range to really get a good acceleration coming out of that corner. This is going to be a great example to show you how the gear shifting really works and how we use the gear shifting to actually benefit our riding, giving us more acceleration when we want it or giving us more top speed when we're looking for it. So continue practicing with your gear shifting until it's much easier. You want to be able to shift through the gears without having to think about the order that you're having to go through the controls, and all that should be very natural. If you're ever out on the track and trail and say you're climbing up a steep hill, you'll actually want to get the bike down in a lower gear to help you get the acceleration you need to get to the top of this hill. You never really want to have to shift your gears as you're climbing up a big steep hill, especially in the beginning. We really want to focus on getting in the correct gear before we get going up this steep hill, and if for some reason we're starting to run out of power, all we have to do is simply shift down in the gears, and that's going to give us more acceleration to get to the top of the hill. It's important that we learn this because when we're going up a steep hill, we don't want to have to be troubled with having to let the throttle off, pull on the clutch, and shift through our gears, because as we're climbing up this hill, we're going to run out of power very quickly, especially if we let the throttle off. So sometimes in this instance, you may have to let the throttle off and quickly shift down with your foot. In this case, we really want to make sure we're comfortable with being able to let the throttle off and shift down quickly and get back on the throttle as fast as possible. This way, when we're climbing up a hill, we don't run out of power, run out of speed, and get stuck halfway up the hill. And this can all be helped by just being in the correct gear before we even attempt going up the hill. Rad family, I'm so proud of you for learning how to shift your dirt bike and really investing into your dirt bike riding. If you're still looking for more dirt bike riding tips, I'm always here. I've made a full dirt bike riding course over on my website that'll walk you through being a complete beginner and take you to an advanced rider mastering the tracks and trails. Also, you can find all my rad merch over on the website as well. If this video helped you, make sure you like this video, drop some comments down below, and ask me any other questions that you have. Make sure you hit the subscribe button that's right here and ring the bell so you don't miss out on any of my future dirt bike riding tips. After that, you can watch my next video right here. Stay rad, and I'll see you guys over there.